Facebook Live. We're here with a few wonderful patients and with Gabby, and Gabby is my assistant, as you probably know by now. That's Gabby. And we're going to be talking about skin health tonight. We're here at the Natural Health Improvement Center of Columbia, Maryland, and we're really glad that you tuned in. So we have a very intimate little group here, so it's going to be kind of informal. I'm not going to be standing and giving a class in quite the same way that I do sometimes. So we're going to be talking about skin health. We've got some people here who have had eczema. I'm one of them. We have somebody here who's had very severe eczema, and other people who have various skin issues. So we want to kind of get to the bottom of what's going on with skin in general, and why skin is so important and why it sometimes goes wrong. So we know that organs can go wrong for various reasons. And, oh, by the way, we may also have another person joining us. So those of you out in Facebook land, if you will just forgive us, I think I see someone coming up right now. So we'll just allow her to come in and continue. So the skin is your body's largest and fastest growing organ. It has many roles in the maintenance of life and health, but it has many potential problems. It's the largest detoxifying organ of the body, and so there are many layers that make up the skin. It's the largest detoxifying organ. Hello, welcome. And when the liver, which is our most important detoxifying organ, doesn't function 100% because of all the many things, the assaults that we do on it all the time, of which I'm going to mention a few. When the liver gets clogged up or isn't able to really function as well as it should, the skin takes over. So people break out when they're teenagers or in their early 20s in particular. They might break out in acne. If the liver isn't functioning very well, we could end up with allergies of various sorts, and that could manifest in a skin allergy such as eczema. Psoriasis is another thing altogether in a way. It's an autoimmune issue that often has to do with the gut. So a lot of these things are treated by dermatologists by way of things like steroids, and those, like so many of the symptoms that we talk about, the steroids are the solution to the symptom, perhaps, and sometimes they don't even do that much for them. And then we get dependent upon the solution for the symptom to handle the symptom. And because we're not managing or even handling the underlying cause of the problem, of course, the symptom is going to recur. And of course, we're going to be dependent upon the medication that squashes the symptom. That only makes sense. So here at Natural Health Improvement Center, we're really more interested in handling the problem that's causing the symptom so that we don't need to suppress the symptom. The idea is that if we suppress a symptom, no matter what the symptom is, then it's going to come out in some other way, or we now have a medication, and then there's a side effect for the medication, and then that creates another problem, and then the solution for that is another medication, and it just goes on indefinitely, and then we become these bags of solutions to symptoms, which are medications, rather than a bag of healthy human cells, if you will. So what we want to be is a bag of healthy human cells that detoxify the way they're supposed to. We're built to be perfect. And those of us who know about nutrition response testing know how to help the human body to be as perfect as it can be, recognizing that we've all gone through layers of experience in our lives and our health history. So the skin works as a barrier. It's a very, very important barrier to the external world. And one thing that I would like to talk about is how we allow assaults to our skin, which then end up causing us to not be as good, have as good a barrier to the outside world. one of the things that's way overused is antibacterial soaps and antibacterial hand sanitizers and those kinds of things, which are extremely damaging to our bodies. We have a natural barrier to bacteria and viruses and the things that are out in the world, fungi and things like that. And if we destroy that, then we're actually much more vulnerable to the things out in the world. So of course it is a balance. No, we don't want to wipe a kid's nose and then wipe our own nose with the same germs that that kid who has the flu had. So what should we do? We should obviously be careful with that. Don't touch your face. These are just basic rules that everybody knows. Just wash your hands, but not with an antibacterial soap that's going to destroy the barrier, but rather with just regular soap. And as a tip, it's good to wash your hands with a lot of soap, regular soap, not antibacterial soap, and sing happy birthday. And that should be long enough. And get between your fingers, you know, get under your nails, just wash your hands very well. It's not a matter of doing this and then washing the hands off. You really do want to wash the germs off. And so you're not going to spread it to other people who also might be vulnerable. So that's one basic tip. I think everybody knows those kinds of things. The skin also regulates body temperature. It protects us from UV radiation from the sun by producing melanin, and that's the thing that helps our body to have, our skin to have some level of color. One interesting thing is, well, why are some people dark-skinned and why are some people light-skinned? We've made it into a huge racial thing, but the real truth is that people who come from places that are closer to the equator have darker skin. People who live closer to the poles have lighter skin. Well, why is that? The reason for that is because we need to allow a certain amount of sunlight in so that our bodies can create vitamin D out of the cholesterol that we eat, or that's in our body. So people who have a lot of sunlight don't need as much to come through because they're exposed to it, to much more of it. And people who, so those are the people who live on the equator, who have darker skin. And those people who live farther away from the sun, if you will, nearer to the poles, Sweden, Norway, places like that that are closer, that have less sunlight, need to have lighter skin so that they can then absorb more sunlight so that they can have more vitamin D. Well, why is vitamin D important? Vitamin D is essential to our immune systems. So these days, most of us don't get out in the sun enough, and a lot of us end up with lab tests that show very low vitamin D. Well, that's just a function of our not getting out in the sun enough. And it's a function of not eating enough good fats. So those of us who've been around a while went through the food pyramid that was low in fats and high in carbohydrates, and we ended up with a lot more health problems than people who nowadays are starting to eat properly, which means do eat good grass-fed butter, and do eat olive oil, and do eat, if you eat meat, eat the meat with the fat in it, which is a good idea. So the skin will reflect that as well, because you may see somebody who looks very young and has a good fat layer in their skin. Well, they didn't get that by eating a low-fat diet. You might see somebody who has eaten a low-fat diet who actually has more wrinkles and more dryness in their skin. So it's very, very important to get enough fat in our diets and to get enough sunlight and that sort of thing. Those are all very good things for health in general. So the skin is a very good indicator of our health in general. There are a trillion organisms on the skin at any given time, thousands of species of bacteria, viruses, and fungi. Now those aren't all bad. those serve a purpose, and we need them. So a lot of those are good. So again, we don't want to kill them all off with our antibacterial soap, do we, if they're good for us? Some of them are good. And we need to have a good balance, like we need to have a good balance in our gut. So the skin is kind of another liver, another gut. It's another organ. It just has something to do with how we look as well. So there's a lot of good information here. There's so much good information in this skin health handout that we've given you, and information about the different kinds of eczema. What is eczema? What is psoriasis? Psoriasis is such a different kind of thing because it really is autoimmune. And so most of the time, people who go to the medical doctor with psoriasis get first course of action would probably be a steroid, just like it is for eczema. Second course of action, when the psoriasis doesn't get better, and psoriasis is a very dangerous disease. It can affect the organs, it can affect the joints. There's a particular kind of arthritis called psoriatic arthritis that deforms the joints. That's really a body gone wrong. And you can imagine that's not really a skin disease, is it, if it's affecting the joints? So all these heavy-duty cancer-causing drugs have come out, advertised on TV about how beautiful your skin can look if you can take these cancer-causing drugs. And sure, they can, because they are suppressing the immune system. What if we could correct the immune system, address the problem at its core, which could be even the gut? If you notice, most of the, well, you won't notice this, but I do in my practice, with my patients who have had psoriasis, and I've had great success with people who've had psoriasis, who've been able to change their diet, who've been able to detoxify from whatever their particular toxin is, whether it's mercury or aluminum or chemicals or an immune challenge, any number of things. And of course with nutrition response testing, you guys all know that I can find that stuff. So, and nobody's the same as anybody else. Just because my first psoriasis patient came in and had aluminum be his trigger or the cause of his psoriasis doesn't mean it's the same for everybody. I had another woman come in and she had to stop drinking alcohol entirely. She was drinking quite a bit of alcohol, and when she stopped it and stopped the sugar in her diet, her psoriasis got much, much better, and she had it all over her body. And this young man who had a sensitivity to aluminum or a toxicity from aluminum changed his deodorant, stopped drinking beer from cans and soda, and changed his cookware and took the supplements that he needed, and his psoriasis got much better. And that was many years ago. When I've spoken to his mother recently, and she says he's still doing very, very well. So these are not impossible lifelong circumstances or diseases that people have to live with. That's not true of, that's really not true of most things. And you guys all have things that you've had that experience with, that you thought, oh no, I'm going to have this forever. And I know I have too. You know, I thought my thyroid was only going to get worse and worse and worse. And I had eczema too. And I just don't have it as badly as I used to. I don't really have any. But I know that when I get in a shower that has a lot of chlorine in it, my eczema flares up a little bit. So it's really different for every single person. And psoriasis is, as I said, a gut problem, mostly. So that needs to be handled. We need to balance the gut bacteria. We need to make sure that the person's diet is good, and all sorts of benefits can occur. Now, acne is, you know, a lot of people say, oh, it's got to be, it just happens naturally because a person is of a certain age. So the hormones are changing and so on. Well, my children never got acne. And I know they never got acne. I have two sons who are in their mid-20s now, and I never saw either one of them get any acne. And maybe it was because of the diet that they were on. I tried to feed them as well as I could, but I think that they also might have just been fortunate because, like all mothers, I was guilty of feeding them bad lunches occasionally, and it could be that they didn't have a lot of sugar though in their diet, because my kids didn't have a lot of sugar in their diet. So I'm not exactly sure how it happened that we got so fortunate that they didn't have a lot of acne, but I know a lot of people do. We also didn't have a lot of dairy in their diet. And there is one theory, and I think it's true for some people, that dairy from the age of 15 to 25 in particular can cause trouble with the skin. Now, some of you have been to some of my talks, so you're going to hear the same thing that I've said before, which is that the dairy these days is so full of hormones, and the meat these days is so full of hormones that is probably the reason that dairy causes acne. It's the thing that's in the dairy that's causing the acne. The antibiotics, the growth hormone, the pasteurization, all the processes. So the dairy is not really dairy. It's not healthy dairy as much as it is anymore. And it could also be, it's definitely the sugar that teenagers use. There's so many people who just think that soda is like water. Kids should never have soda. They should just never have it. Nobody should. Soda shouldn't exist. There's no reason for soda, really. It's so full of toxins and chemicals. And diet soda, the aspartame in diet soda turns into formaldehyde in the body. How's the body supposed to detoxify all that stuff? The liver gets overloaded. Who does the job? The skin. It's pretty simple. So if you eat a natural diet, if you eat a lot of vegetables, you eat good grass-fed meats, get pastured eggs, have dairy, if you have dairy, have it from healthy cows, grass-fed preferably, and you probably won't have the skin issues, like acne, that you will otherwise. So these are simple things. And sometimes people just break out because they're going through a natural detox of their body. Somebody might get sick, and then their skin breaks out a little bit, but then it passes. Because the skin's doing a job. All right, what else? So there's all sorts of good examples of how to take care of your skin and so on in this. And on the back of it, we've got some face mask fun. So Gabby has put together these wonderful face masks that just would feel so great. Avocado mask, coconut and honey, fruit masks, aloe and honey, and so on. And there's some that are specifically for acne, using a cucumber mask with a little bit of bentonite clay in it to make that kind of tight feeling. Do you remember doing that when you were a kid? Did you ever have parties where you put that stuff on your face? I remember doing that, and it would tighten up, and then everybody would go and wash it off, and we'd all have gorgeous skin. So these are, and honey, all these things are here. So are these going to be on our website?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Gabby's going to put this on our website. So for those of you in Facebook land out there, probably by tomorrow, these will be on our website, so you can feel free to go and pull those off of there. So under the blog, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, good. So as you know, what we're interested in is if a person has a symptom, we want to know why it's there. So it's not enough, as I'm saying about anything, it's not enough to just find out how to suppress the symptom. Sure, you can put stuff on the pimples, or you can put steroids on the acne, on the eczema. You can put something on a skin rash. But as you've just learned, or as you've just you've been reminded of, because you may know a lot of this already, there's something going on internally in the body. So there's a nutritional deficiency, or there's an organ dysfunction. The skin is an organ. If the liver isn't functioning properly, the skin is going to take up for it, because we can't have a bunch of junk in our body without getting sick. So our bodies are really smart. And so we have a backup organ, which is the skin. So what's going on with the liver is what I want to know, or the kidneys, or the gut, or something else that's causing the skin to need to take up the slack. That's what I want to know. So is it an organ dysfunction? Is the liver perhaps not working properly? If it's not, then is the body utilizing nutrients the way it should? If the gut isn't working properly, is the body absorbing the nutrients that it needs to have healthy skin? Am I making sense? Mm-hmm. So what we need to do is find out, is it an organ dysfunction? Is the gut out of balance? Is the liver not detoxifying? Or does it start with a nutritional imbalance? Does the person not get enough sunlight through the skin in order to turn cholesterol into vitamin D? Therefore, the immune system is affected, perhaps. Is the gut not absorbing minerals the way it should because it's not healthy? All of those kinds of things need to be determined, and we can determine that with nutrition response testing. So if we can cause the organ to get better, then it'll absorb its nutrients better, then the symptom will improve. So going from the top down, going from the symptom doesn't make as much sense as going to the organ dysfunction or the nutritional deficiency. And that's what we do with nutrition response testing. It's a safe, natural way of finding out what's going on in the body. And that's why it's working for you guys. It's safe and it's natural. And you take the supplements, only the supplements that your body needs. So if one person has eczema, I don't say to that person, oh, I just had somebody with eczema and this worked for that person, so I'm going to give it to you. It might not be the same. Just like the example I just gave of the two people with psoriasis. One needed to take supplements to get rid of the aluminum in his system, and another one needed to get rid of the toxins from the alcohol in her system, and another person might need to give up dairy and handle the dietary issues, or any combination of that plus more. There may have been a bacterial infection or a viral infection that occurred even years ago, or even a vaccination that somebody got that they didn't get rid of all the toxins from that. It can be so many things, but we need to figure it out for each individual person here. We've got 6 of us here. We could all have the same symptom and have each one of us have a different reason for it, which I find fascinating, and that's why I love my work so much, because people get better because they have the tools to be able to help them handle that. So I'm going to sign off now, and we're going to say goodbye to those of you in Facebook land. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you have any questions or anything, we're here at the Natural Health Improvement Center of Columbia, Maryland. We have free 15-minute phone consultations. If you are curious about what we do, but you're not sure if it's for you or for somebody that you care about, you can call us at 410-717-6610, and we'll be very happy to have I will be very happy to have a conversation with you over the phone to see if this is the right place for you. And during the month of January, we have a really amazing thing going on, which is every single new patient visit, whether you are a patient already and you want to try a new service, because we have allergy appointments, we have nutrition response testing, and we have chiropractic. All first visits for any of those things are 30% off, and all allergy treatments and chiropractic treatments are 10% off through the whole month of January. So I'm super excited to be able to offer that to you guys. So call us and we'll be really happy to see you. Thanks so much for tuning in.